Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks to everyone for coming out today. We have two amazing creatives and also those who work with creatives in our panel today. And I think one of the things most why I'm excited about this is because creators are most often unlocking the opportunities of the future in ways that we never imagined. So today is going to be about the tools and the creatives and how we are shaping the metaverse, design principles, inclusive design, challenges, solution, and about ideas for the future. Betty, do you want to scoot up a little bit?
I kind of feel like we're having like more of a conversation, so I felt like make it more Socratic. No?
Okay,
Can you guys see me?
Let's do it.
I can move up more.
Yeah, so my name is Anne, and I'm from Wristband, which is an experience platform for creators. You can think of Grand Theft Auto minus all the drugs, violence, and shooting. And that's why I brought together today from Spinning Top, we have Betty and Mélodie from PatchXR, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Cool. My name is Betty Fink. You might have noticed my last name. I am the daughter of Charlie Fink. So as you can imagine, I was brought up in tech against my will. It happened around the dinner table really casually. It happened without me knowing it. I went to college for sociology. I was a promoter at my college. We booked shows, which led me down this long path to the music industry. I've worked in a booking agency. I will disclose I've only worked in independent music, so I really can't speak to the experience of like a Warney or a Sony or a Warner. And then I eventually ended up with Jody Regan. She is the manager of Tame Impala. She has a management company called Spinning Top Music. She has really helped me to grow. I joined the company in February 2020. So it was a little bit death by fire, just being their digital and new media manager at a time when we went so fully digital. It was insane, and we were just really trying to find new revenue streams outside of touring. And yeah, since that time, I've grown so much. I've learned a ton about XR and Web3 and all the different opportunities for artists. And I've learned a lot from working with our artists on their digital experiences, just sort of like they're jack of all trades when it comes to organizing their digital life, figuring out what projects they might want to go for next or what's even possible in the digital space. So yeah, that's like a brief overview of what I do.
Mélodie?
Cool. Yeah, so I'm Mélodie Mousset. I'm a French artist. That's what I started with a 20 years career in the contemporary art world, making a lot of experiences for people ranging from sculpture to video to photography to sound installation, and fell into VR in 2014 as I was in the hospital trying to get my organs out to reconstruct myself out of myself. A very surreal experience, which made me discover VR. I didn't know anything about technology back then. I came really from the 3D building aspect, working with a very tangible medium like ceramic, chocolate, pasta. I was really experimenting with anything. I would call myself, an explorer and a seeker of experience in my personal life, and as an artist, as a creator of experience. And what I really love to do is basically set up the context for other people to have this amazing experience that I love so much. So now I'm the co-founder of PatchXR. So, I started really as an artist, falling in love with the immersive medium at this hospital, and then really, my first experience was literally to step inside my own uterus. I can talk about this outside of this talk if you want. It's a very interesting story. But anyway, after that, I was really into this medium. There's just nothing like this where you can really bring so much emotion and basically recreate worlds and experiences that you cannot have in the real world. My second experience after this organ trip was called Hana Hana, which was a persistent multiplayer world in which you could create hand sculpture out of the desert and in real time. And I was connecting different museums so you could speak with each other and you could create things with each other and go on a journey on this like hand creation. And this leads me today to be the co-founder of PatchXR, which is a company I founded with Eduardo Fuyu at the end of 2020, which really brought my pain as an artist, trying to make this really compelling, immersive experience. And his technology, which was engine, which enabled creation in VR without any coding needs. But originally, when he created this engine, it was for sound, so it was about creating sound machine. But I really saw a possibility in expanding the sound capability into the world building, which I was desperately trying to create as an artist, and really very little. I mean, it was just not, it's still not really affordable and accessible to any creator out there. So what we're really aiming for with PatchXR is democratizing those tools and letting, any artist experience the joy and the magic of this.
Yeah.
So short story.
That's a really amazing story, and I can see where the inspiration comes from going through your own career. I think when we look at, you said joy and like magic and like a couple of these words that really kind of embody the amazing experiences we have in our lives. And even though we have creativity all around us, in a way, it's one of the most valuable things. Like brands spend so much money on activations because those are the moments that are going to create memories and bring people together. And it's almost like a rare commodity because like they have to put so much effort into all these experiences. But now that we're having the tools and we have more accessibility, we're having immersive mediums, artists are exploring in Web3 that's unlocking a new ownership economy, then we're looking at a new era of interactive experiences. So before is products and services, and I feel like only now are we really entering this new experience economy driven by tools and by Web3. And Betty, I'd love to learn a bit more about your role at Spinning Top. I don't know if you have counterparts at other labels or how your role evolved and what you do day to day.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know if there are counterparts at independent record labels or management companies to me. I think that this is such a new career field, and I think it often starts if you're not a programmer, say you're in a different sector and you're trying to get your company into XR, just even getting into social media, you're just scratching the layer of the entire, everything online that might have your name on it. And it's just getting bigger and bigger, harder to do without someone having a full-time role in your company to really spend time looking through the internet and making sure that everything that has your likeness on it is something that you want out there. And that's not even accounting for, companies should have people who are keeping their eye on this space at all times. I think it's really easy to rely on, reading a headline every once in a while or scrolling on Twitter. But I think it's another thing to really strategize around new technologies, reach out to people, start thinking on your own about what is possible. So I hope that companies, management companies, anyone who works with artists really dedicates more research and more manpower into this space, because it's just way too much for artists on their own at this point, and they're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities if there isn't someone who is doing that for them.
Nice. So I think with Betty and Mélodie, they both have very distinct roles. We're going to ask Betty a few questions and ask Mélodie a few questions. We're going to ask questions for both of them to bring these two mindsets together. And Betty, I think your role again is to help the music industry and to help artists monetize from the new opportunities available and not to miss the next big thing. We had, the film industry wasn't really prepared for Netflix. We had the music industry didn't foresee Spotify. We don't know if the gaming industry is the most qualified to make virtual worlds. What do you think is the next big opportunity here for music, and are we going to like maximize that, or is this something that you think is going to, the music industry might miss again? Is the model going to evolve quickly enough to adapt to it?
Yeah, I think yes, I think that there is this feeling sometimes when we get in rooms like these or when we're presenting our product to someone that there is an urgency, right? There's something you've been working on, you want to do the release, you want to get some good marketing behind it, and you've got to be the first. You've got to be the first NFT, you've got to be the first player in Fortnite to do a live concert. And while all those are great things, I think you really create lasting streams of revenue for your artists when you sort of start from the ground up. I really love where XR is going in the live music space. We just recently saw this very large deal between, I think it was like Hulu and C3, which is a giant promoter, basically giving them exclusive rights to stream all of their festivals. And I think that there's like a really untapped, I think what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic was so much fatigue around live streaming. And I'm really shocked at this point that there have not been more XR tech people, trying to sort of bring these worlds together, right? Because it's one thing to film a concert. Easy, we've done it. It's another thing to try and take that performance and create a whole different performance by the time it reaches the customer's screen. I'm very excited to see where that goes. That's going to be a huge part of the music industry when we move forward is streaming rights and live contracts, including some form of recording. What am I thinking of?
Like recording rights? Or
Yes, rights. We'll say rights.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I am not yet sold on NFTs or Bitcoin. I think as an artist, you have a really tenuous income. A lot of what you're making from tours is going directly back into that same tour, right? It's constantly money in and money out. You don't really have a ton of cash to play around with, especially when you're talking about advances from record labels. So while I think what's happening on blockchain could be cool, I don't know if it's where I think live VR and location-based VR is at, which is like really on the precipice of creating new worlds out of revenue streams that already exist for artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of interesting points in there around NFTs and also like the role of a label or like the role of someone who manages music rights and the publisher. And when we look at an artist's career, you have your independent artists who are just starting or up and coming, who can manage social media and do performances. But as their career grows, then they need someone to help with partnerships. They need someone to help with that touring and logistics. And they actually play a really important role. So I don't think it's always good for an industry to take out the intermediaries or the managers because they do play a critical role in an artist's career. But when we look at the metaverse market, we look at the online entertainment market where it's for experiences that people come together beyond streaming. I think they're like Decentraland or the Sandbox. Do you think these are actually solving problems for the music industry? Are they made with the music industry in mind, or what's like the hurdle there to become a part of these new opportunities that the metaverse is presenting?
I think it's trying really hard to give artists more money, but it's not coming from people who understand artists. I think there's a lot more education that would need to be done before artists are releasing an album on a blockchain or selling parts of their album as an NFT. I think it's promising for independent music. We love to find a way around a major label. But I think, the reality of the resources and the time it would simply take to get an artist to use that platform is just really, it's not gonna happen tomorrow. It's not like, there really needs to be more investment if that's a real thing they wanna get off the ground. And I think like a lot more focus on communicating to the public what this product is in a way that the public or a regular person who doesn't look at tech every day would know how to interpret.
I think this is actually a great time to bring Mélodie in because we are talking about like the adoption of tech and the process for the label to understand that, for the artist to understand it. And I think a lot of these are driven from the artist if their craft isn't just music, but it involves the tools and that represents how their music is made. So we see Patch XR, you showed me just before the session here today. You showed me these beautiful worlds, and within those worlds you had different instruments that you could interact with in real time, either collectively or individually, to create music. So, you know, a studio can be really expensive or unaffordable. Yes, a VR headset can be $200 to $400, but if you're thinking about studio rental, your drum kit, like, it can add up really quickly. So this is making it more accessible in many ways, but it's also a learning curve. So on that point of education and adoption, where are you seeing creators come to you from? Like, how are they discovering Patch XR, and where do you see it playing a role within the artist's career?
Yeah, so before I answer your question, I wanted to speak a little bit about your experience and like in a way, the traditional like music industry post and during COVID and pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting with what we're doing, or the Metaverse possibilities, I guess, is that really the rethinking of all this all this process. Like, for example, in Patch, so yeah, you're building your own instruments. Well, if you're a sound engineer, maybe you want to do that. So you're connecting blocks, you're patching your own instrument, and then you're connecting your instruments to a venue. So it's like a digital audio, like an immersive digital audiovisual workstation. You build it at home in your Quest. So it's called $400. You can bring it anywhere. And then you're not only creating your studio from scratch. I mean, if you don't want to build it, you can also go to the library and see what other users have created and download their instrument. And from there, you can expand your workstation into a venue, which you just pull up a few assets, connect them to your device, start making music, and your room start interacting with your music. And then you start inviting people. And then, you know, you're playing a show. You can invite your friend. You can invite somebody to jam with. And, you know, suddenly you're here sitting in your bedroom, and you have not only a software to make music, but you have a room, you have an audience, you have teammates to play music with. And, you know, I'm really curious how, and I'm not saying this replaces, you know, what you're doing at all, but there is here something that is, you know, we're changing completely the paradigm of how you make music. And it's not going to replace the real like live event where you're sitting in a room and you're sweating with each other. But, you know, because, like, for instance, in Patch especially, because the music is generated with our engine in real time, it means, you know, the music is really, like, you know, you react in real time with your audience, and you tweak the audio and everything. So you're really into, I mean, it's not a live event. I mean, it's not a physical live event with sweat and chemistry involved, but, I mean, we're really into, you know, something else than just like broadcasting recorded music. This is really, really different. So I'm really, you know, like when I was hearing you, I was like, wow, we're really, like I think about what we're doing and like the question we're asking ourselves are just really different. And for the artist, well, yeah, there is a learning curve because this is a new tool. It's also a new way to interact with digital objects and to think about digital objects. As you know, yeah, you can make money by creating a replica of, you know, a 303, or by inventing completely a new machine or a new word that somebody else could download. But there is a whole, there's a learning curve, but there is so much potential in how you can monetize this, you know, with maybe with wristband, Metaverse, you know, taking care of all the monetization system or something. But yeah, the education, I mean, so far, like, for us, it's not like we don't really have much competition in the space we are at, because there's no really anything to create music like the way we do. So if anyone's interested in this, if they Google it, they would just find us. So most people who have found us just looking for music software in VR, and they're just, yeah. And we're not out yet. So
Yeah, but you're coming out this summer, right?
yeah. It's coming very soon, like in a month, or like, no, this summer is more secure to say. But I'm really, really curious to see how this has the potential to transform, first the metaverse as we know it, or like what it can be. Especially because this is a tool. I mean, I really love what VR Room is doing. Like we saw them earlier today, and they're creating these shows with like, bigger name. But in a way, it's really about reproducing what we know about an event. It's like, okay, you have concert, people are coming in and everything, but for me, it's not really breaking the paradigm where, musical instrument or music becomes space, become performances, become, an extension of your body or something, and people can share that. Anyway.
Yeah, I think one of the most successful music games in Roblox was called Splash by Popgun, an Australian company. And they had like millions of people go and play this game, and it was a music creation one, but it's very simple. I mean, it's on a computer. You can change a few dials, and that part of that game is that you get like a little turn on stage to go and present your music, and people can like vote for your track. And these are kids, and it's super fun because they get their turn on stage, they get that feedback from the audience, and it's the sense of creating together, but then also performing it. And I think with Patch too, you can have performances where you can share it, you can stream it to other third parties, can stream it to 2D screens, so the accessibility of the creation process itself.
Well, so that's the goal. Right now we have VR first app, so it's really about, because things are way better to do in VR, like creating stuff. Then, of course, we want to be cross-platform, and we want to be able to, bring those creations to other metaverse, and especially to stream on the web. And so this is coming in the next months. But of course, this is really important for VR to also reach out a larger audience. And Rec Room, Roblox. Rec Room, for example, is a good example for how, and VR chat as well, how virtual being, this, how do you say interoperability?
Interoperability.
Yes.
Yeah. That is, with the two, I guess, major game engines, the Unity and Unreal, that is quite an incredible movement which is taking place. So if you have an art piece that you've created in Patch XR that also includes visuals, and that's very much in the trend right now too, which is people are listening to mood playlists rather than like a specific artist. So you can think, I want to go into these specific worlds around a certain mood and discover it in that way. And the interoperability is like being able to plug that into VR chat or plug it into another Unity game, or anything that is Unreal can also exist in an Unreal game. So the idea that a lot of these games, just like Fortnite is now opening up the creator mode, is like, what will Fortnite look like in the future? It's taking this step where you can create other games with the assets, which is incredibly exciting for creatives who now have the opportunity to become game makers and monetize from that. And I think the same Patch XR is almost like the Fortnite creator mood of music industry tools.
Yeah, we want to be.
Yeah. And Betty as well, like when you're thinking like the music is made, but then you also have to market it, distribute it, and we see a lot of press around virtual worlds that are more about headlines, it seems, sometimes than the actual experience, you could say. So how is this playing a role in like the campaign cycle? Is technology influencing that, or the tools?
That's a really good question. I definitely think there is a big push for artists to engage online, which gets very stressful. I truthfully wish there was more involvement with the artist in like XR proposals, especially from the beginning. It seems like there's a big, population of the pitch, a big percentage of the pitches that we see come through for engaging Web3 in a campaign is always kind of like an after, the last thought, right? It's like, we'll just get Tame Impala to sign their name on this NFT, and we'll produce a bunch of elephants and call it the elephant NFT, and Tame Impala's name will be on it, and it'll sell, and it'll be great. And I think, like, in order to really have a successful campaign, even if it's not on Web3 or with a tech company, you really have to have the artist be invested. And I know that sounds simple, but I think so often you want to push something through because it's got a big name on it, or you wanted this marketing push, and I think you really lose a lot of heart. And I don't think we've seen a lot of heart thus far with the collaborations between major artists and tech. And I think that's why. I think because they're kind of just on it sort of at the very end. And I think, like Mélodie has noticed, there is such a potential for these artists, if they can learn the platform, to really make something incredible. And it's not gonna be it's not gonna be some guy who programs the tech, taking their version of a Tame Impala song and putting it on an NFT, but it would be someone really working with Kevin and the band to sort of show them what's possible so that they can make it for you. And then at the end, you have a really lovely product that everyone wants to promote, right? And you don't lose that heart. And at the end of the day, hopefully the artist will do a lot of the selling of the product. And I think, if you want an influencer, that's great. There are people who do that. If you want a creator, then you need to pay them and you need to involve them from the beginning, in the same way that a record, when it's getting done, it takes years. It takes 2 or 3 years from the moment the record is recorded to the moment it reaches your hand as a customer. And I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't be treating any new XR products for artists in the same way. We can't just put our name on the end of it and tell our fans that this is our new revenue stream. We have extreme loyalty to our fan base as creators in a way that I think is unique to other sectors. Of course, you're always trying to sell to your customers, but it's a little bit different when they already feel like they know you so much. It's very intense. There's a very intense relationship between an artist and a fan, and they trust us. They trust creatives on a level that they don't just trust a YouTube vlogger, and if we sell them a product, our artists really have to be behind it. And particularly in such a new space like Web3, blockchain, we do have to be careful that we're not, that we fully understand the product so that there can be no miscommunication with our fan base. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who have gotten our creatives here, and we can't leave them behind just because the people at the top are telling us that's where the money is. And ultimately, so yeah, perhaps I'm just rambling and getting on my soapbox, but I figured, well, I have you. Pay creatives more and give them more time to really create for you. Because if it's a partnership you want, that is possible with more time and education and money, because it is a serious venture to create.
Yeah, I think on one end you talked about impact and others like the end result, and we see so many things in the metaverse that are rushed, and you end up there's the Metaverse Fashion Week in Decentraland, and you see all these buildings lined up full of really nice brand layouts, and you have the artist over here and people arrive in the world over here, and I was just waiting to see what happened, and people run straight past the millions of dollars spent on all the shops and go to try and find the artist who has had trouble appearing in the world now for some tech reason. But it is often the last thought. But if you want that result and that experience and true engagement, thinking about it as a collaborative experience where maybe what if that artist also participated with the brands, then you get a better result and you get more engagement coming through the platform. So it is an incredibly important part of the cycle. And Mélodie, I think too, with the tools, we think about, when artists started to first use synthesizers and it created new genres of music, and then it created the rave culture. And the way that we are experiencing creating, are you seeing shifts in the creative process taking place that is leading to new ways that people are engaging with music and creating music, or the sounds that you hear?
I mean, so far we're still in closed beta with only 300 creators. So, from this experience that we have on our community, it's quite interesting to see that there's way more musicians that I thought that think about their music visually And I actually didn't know because I'm not a musician myself, so I come more from the sculpture and visual side of things. So this is something I discovered while, engaging with the community. They were like, well, actually this is more natural for me to work with patch because I always think I see colors when I hear my sound, or when I compose, I visualize this stuff. So patch enabled me to actually make it happen. So that's pretty big. I don't know if the sound is really different, but the result is, there is the sound aspect, and then there is also the spatial aspect, because you can step inside the music in 3 dimension and hear it. It's spatialized audio, so it sounds different if you're, behind an object, and so basically it becomes sound, expanding into a world that you can explore. Yes, I don't know if the music will sound different, but the experience of it is definitely something new.
Yeah, I think that's something we found in like wristbands early prototype events too, is we were going to do one thing and then all of a sudden like we gave everyone cars and they started like driving around to this like soundtrack by the band, and it became a completely different experience than we expected, and it was really fun and novel too, the medium.
Actually, something that is unique as well is the participatory aspect of the music. So because it is, what we really care about is also that it's not broadcasted and it remains interactive. So, okay, if the artist really wants the world to be a thing that, the player can just, walk around and listen to and see, that's one thing. But the added, like he would probably miss out of the added value is that you can keep things alive and interactive. So that means anyone walking into these musical worlds takes part of it and has agency to, bring his own like ideas, experiences, tweak, and you can remix things and play a bit with the artist. You can actually engage, well, it's hard to talk about it. I wish I could show you, actually.
Yeah, I think you have a demo here people can experience after, right?
Yeah, I have my Quest.
There we go.
Yeah.
You can find Mélodie after. We have a few minutes left, and I wanted to open the floor for questions. If anyone wants to come up to the center mic.
I had a quick question just about Patch XR. So am I hearing this correctly, that the sort of the instruments and the spaces you're in VR are there's
Yeah, sorry, I missed one part.
the spaces within VR are actually being kind of ported into parts of the instruments so that people actually can be interactive, where a wall or things could actually be touched, might not, or that it's sort of visual layout, you can interact and play with these instruments in the spaces.
Yeah, the same way you build, because everything is made in blocks on our core. It's all modular. So that's the modularity of things makes it like the same way you build an instrument. You connect. You can animate stuff. You can use a LFO to animate whatever you want.
So the instruments have these visual elements. I have to check this out. This sounds amazing.
Yeah. And you can connect it. So you patch it using, the same patching technique you would use with pure data, but you would do it to connect visual as well and light.
Interesting. Awesome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for speaking with us today. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the buzz around the metaverse when it comes to the artistic community. Are the labels most interested in the metaverse, and so they're pushing this idea of this technology and this new way to make money on the artists? Or is it the artists who are really passionate and hearing about and discovering the metaverse, and they're trying to figure out how they can create as well? Or is it some kind of mix of both of those?
I would like to say something here. So that Travis Scott concert, or all these big concerts are actually really exciting for artists, because they're like, wow, that brought so many people. How can I do that? And they really want to do things, but they're not coders, and most of the composers and performers are just not very tech savvy. I don't want to generalize, but some are very tech savvy and some are not. And they're looking for solutions. And when I reached out to label to see if we could do partnership, for example, and they were like heavily looking because their artists are asking them like, I want to do metaverse stuff too, but how do I do this? So I think, I'm very curious to hear what you have to say on that, but like the label I talked to were like desperately looking for solutions to bring to the artist. So yeah, I would say there's a hunger.
I would agree. I would say of the artists who are more technically inclined that I work with, who are more DJs or sort of are kind of, that's their modus operandi, they always ask. I will say of the VR that's been brought via other labels to us as a management company, it's very literal. It's very not, like it doesn't, tickle anyone's brains. So then I think it gets a little bit harder when you're trying to show, like, spark your artist curiosity in VR as well, to kind of like give them those ideas, because it shows them a really flat, kind of corporate idea of what VR could be. I know that's not exactly your question, but I find that the most positive things I've been able to show my artists are people who approach us directly, people who want to work with a specific artist who understand their music or actually think that they have something that could go well with it. I find that those projects actually are full of people who really understand the artist and have a really wonderful service that they're offering. I often find that those are one and the same.
Yeah, we also found, so with Wristband, we launched to Alpha at South by, and we opened up our call for content, and then we had Super Rare and Rareables to the bigger NFT marketplaces share the open call too, and thousands of people applied. Like, we were only able to feature 81 creatives at the end of the day, from like audio to visual, NFT. Some of them had AR pieces that you could scan like a QR code, have that in real world as well. But there's a huge drive, like a completely new type of creator that's making new experiences. I'm just excited to be a part of it and also understand it's experimental, which actually I think fits in with the creative culture perfectly.
Yeah, I would say, just one more thing just to say, I think the interest is there. Cash for creatives to invest themselves and their craft into this new technology is not. So even when I've applied to grants on behalf of our artists for tech ventures, if it falls through because some of these companies are so new, they give us $2,500 in cash. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to put on a VR live show with $2,500.
Well, with Patch, you don't need it.
Okay, yeah, maybe if I had known about Patch, damn. So it just, the interest is there. We don't have the resources to do this on our own. And so it's really like the onus is on the tech industry. If they want to invest in art, you know where to find us. Like, we're itching. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think a round of applause for our speakers, and thanks for the questions.
Thank you both for thank you for your interesting perspectives. I'm definitely gonna have to check out the Patch demo that you brought, and Sweat and Chemistry. It's coming eventually. And it's gonna get real exciting when that happens. Betty, amazing job following in your father's footsteps with providing some solid commentary.
Yeah, I'm just here for the to ruffle feathers. So.
Well, good job.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.